Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to the Pan-Asia Soy Food Summit session. And my name is Boon Yee Yeong, and I'm the Senior Technical Consultant for Human Protein for USSEC. And I will share with you over the next 20 minutes or so the Southeast Asia soy food market update, what are the key drivers and consumer trends. So I will cover a little bit about the soybean and soy food trade market overview, food use soybean consumption for soy and beverage and food, what are the drivers and trends in this region, as well as the changed consumer behaviors that we will be seeing, and what are the challenges and opportunities. So why is Southeast Asia important to the US soy food market? Well, we have a large population. It is going towards 700 millions by 2025, a huge middle income, as well as a young population with 50% between 22 and 54 years, and a quarter of the population is between 5 to 19 years old. So very powerful consumers. It is the fifth largest trading partner of US, and the US trade export is about 11.5 billions 2018, and there is a 234 billion two-way trades in Southeast Asia during that period of time. So it's almost just about a year or so ago. And you can see that 9.1 million metric tons of imported soybeans comes into Southeast Asia, of which 62.5% are US soy. And out of these, 4 million metric tons of the 9.1 million ton is used for food. So we are a very significant market, and 25% of the world soybean used for food is consumed in Southeast Asia. Just to show that the trend of the soybean import into the region, 9.1 million metric ton was the figures for last year. And this is a slide that shows the top 20 countries that import soybeans from across the world. And out of the 20, you can see that Southeast Asia accounted for 5 of the largest soybean importers in the world. Indonesia, 2.8, Malaysia, slightly lower, 0.8, 0.3, and these are imported figures. And for Thailand, 3.4, and for Vietnam, 1.9 million metric tons. But you can see that of the import into Indonesia, almost all are used for food. So that is a very significant amount. In the next few slides, we'll show some of the statistic on how we break down those figures. So in 2018 and 2019, about 4 million metric tons of soybeans are used in Southeast Asia for food, which account for 43% of the 9.1 million metric tons, and the remainders are used for crushing and feed. And as I mentioned earlier, the US soys account for 62.5% of the 9.1 million metric tons consumed in this region. So that's a significant amount. And why do we consume so much food? Soybean for food, as you can see, Indonesia for food use is already 3 million metric tons, and the rest is more or less distributed between the different Southeast Asia countries, which has much smaller population. Indonesia, as you can see in the next couple of slides, is one of the largest population in this region, and it is the world's fourth largest population, about 270 million by last year, around that. And it is the largest soy food market in Southeast Asia, which consume about 3.1 million metric tons last year figures, of which the local production is relatively small. And so out of the 3.16, 2.6 million metric tons is imported, and almost all from the US. Vietnam and Thailand are the next largest, with food consumption of 280,000 metric ton and 260,000 metric ton in the same year. Okay, so just a little bit of sharing on Indonesia itself. 3.16 million metric ton consumed in total, of which 2.6 million metric tons are imported. And all of this significantly goes into tempeh and tofu production. It is the world's largest producers of tempeh and uniquely actually only most of the Indonesian eat this. So it is a very important market for US soy, but also a significant market for the overall global soy food market. And there is a growing opportunity for high value soy for IP soybean coming in for the more new product going into the modern market. And that is now starting to grow with about 10 to 15,000 metric ton a year. So Thailand is another big market for US soy. And Thailand imported about 3 million metric tons, but a lot of it goes into the crush. And about 48% of this is attributed to US soy. And uniquely, Thailand has a unique market, a high value market of soybean for soy beverages of about 60 to 70,000 metric ton per year of non-GM variety. And out of this 60 to 70 thousand metric ton, 60% of them comes from the US IP soybean market. So that gives a little bit of just an overall pictures of where we are with regards to the consumption of soybean. But I'd like to share in the next couple of minutes some of the key drivers and consumer trends in Southeast Asia. So the key driver consumer trends for soy is we have to look at the mega trends, some of the key influencers, some of the innovation in the food and beverage sectors, some of the disruptor, such as what we are facing right now, the 2020 COVID-19 Black Swan event, which is impacting everybody. And then what we want to see is how these mega trends and disruptor will change the behavior of the consumers in Southeast Asia. So what are the key influences for the future of innovation in food and beverage sector? We currently see 5 of them as the most significant. One is that besides the mega food companies, we are seeing a lot of startups that are coming into the market, and they are going to be the next generation of the soy food producers as well as the innovators. Consumers are also looking at health, and in Asia, we are quite familiar with food as medicine concept, but of course, a lot of new functional ingredients are going into the more modern soy food and to help for health promotion. So those are some of the drivers. There is a growing trend to be more health conscious and looking at some of the key health factors such as obesity and some of the key diabetes indicators, hypertension. So consumers are beginning to look at less is more. They are going for quality, but less for quantity. And plant-based protein is going mainstream. We heard about plant-based alternate proteins for a long time. And in Asia, we consume it as vegetarian meats and various type of products. But the new wave of plant-based protein is going into food ingredients as well as going mainstream. And lastly is the transformation technology. I think that we all heard about the fourth industrial revolution, and the use of technologies is pervasive now across the food and beverage innovation as well. So where do we stand in terms of soy food in this new market? Well, we know that the world is eating more soy food, and where in the US alone, we can see from a consumer survey conducted a year or so ago, more than half of the US consumers is now looking for product that contains soy. But of course, there is a differences in terms of the population that are doing so, and largely it's the younger population, and the growing trend is that they are beginning to realize the health benefits. And then there are more variety of soy food going into ingredients. So if you look at the labels, you can recognize them. And the desire to eat more healthily, as well as in the new interest in sustainability. So soy is considered a food that are sustainable. And of course, the health claim approved by the FDA has helped to solidify the health benefit of soy in terms of heart health. And I think that is one of the most recognized benefit that the consumer can cite. But of course, there are also other benefits as well, which some of these will be shared in the other session of the conference. And so globally, plant-based meat alternative is growing. And you can see from this slide that 4.6 billion has been accounted for this this sector of the food market. And this is envisaged to grow to about 6.8 billion by 2023 in a very, very short time span. And meat substitute like plant-based protein are rising in products that contain some substitution. So increasingly, we are seeing up to 14%, 14% launch in the last year or so in the US, as well as in the Europe. 13% are contain alternate meat substitute. So just a couple of minutes on what is happening right now. And even though in Asia we consume a lot of soy food and from traditional to more modern form, but the current black swan disruption has changed somewhat the behavior. And I think that a lot of it is due to people have to stay at home and they are cooking more and eating out less and not at all. So it's changing the purchase as well as consumption behavior for most of the consumers across the world that are facing this problem. And a study that is conducted by Nielsen shows that there is a permanent shift, not just a short term, is because people are getting used to staying at home and finding out some of the benefits of eating home when in previous years eating out has become such a trend. And so dining at home from home delivery, takeaway, and home cooking is now getting to be trendy. And you can see from the studies that up to 86% of consumer in China, Hong Kong, and 60 over percent from Malaysia, Vietnam, and some of the other countries are saying that they will eat more at home from now on, even after life goes back to normalcy. And a study by Nielsen also indicated that 98%, just for an example, I'm citing Indonesia, that 98% of the population, the netizen, are using smartphone to access the internet. 42% of this goes into the food and beverage, and 81% are using e-wallet, e-paying payment. So technology is really creeping into our life, slowly, but gaining pace as well. So I think the new consumers are going to be finding technology to be a big part of their life. And this studies that is just conducted recently, actually this January to April, by one of the AI company using big data, and they have been tracking the change in consumer behavior, consumption behavior across many of the Asian countries. And I'm using just one part of it, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. And they're showing that there is a huge surge in soy consumption. Mock meat is a plant-based food, as well as other protein food. So this surge comes from the recognition that during this period of infection, people are looking at protecting their health. They do recognize that plant-based food are healthier in some way. It contains a lot of vitamins and that can boost the immunity. And the preference for local and home prepared food is one of the recognition shown in the change in behavior. Food delivery is now a big part of consumption pattern. People order it through the internet, through to various means, and food delivery is now one of the growing industry. And of course, the consumers are also looking at safer food, hygiene, and safety in their consumption choice. So soy and plant protein, not new to us, but you can see that it is changing from tradition, a large part of it in the traditional market, to digital platform and into the food service. And this graphic just shows some of our familiar soy products, such as soybean milk, which in the basic market is just comes in plastic bags. And then it comes in bottles, and of course, it is now in the supermarket in Tetra Pak format. And so we are changing the way that we consume food from tradition to the modern trade. And tofu and even tempeh, as you can see from this graphic, which is one of the largest consumed soy food in Asia, in Indonesia, it is also moving from home cottage industry into modern trade and available to be ordered from the internet as well. And we are also seeing a lot of more restaurants using the meat substitute, the alternate protein, such as Beyond as well as Impossible. And vegan is a gaining trend. So a lot more consumers in Southeast Asia is actually following the vegan trend. And delivery, of course, is also being utilized because of, as I mentioned, that a lot of people are staying home. And also some of these ingredients are going into the food service. So lastly, just in summary, soy food and beverage market trend in Southeast Asia is seeing a change because we have a large paradox of population. Some countries are aging, but the other countries have a large, under 40 population. So there are different needs as well as different innovation that could meet with their needs. We are also facing some triple burden of malnutrition. Some on one end, the obesity scales, and on the other, we still have stunting in some of the less developed countries. So soy actually being a huge acknowledged nutritionally beneficial product can serve these. And we are facing a more sophisticated population, innovative products, health and sustainability, and convenience, and social media and e-commerce are all the drivers that are going to be driving the next trend in soy. So finally, I just wanted to share that in Asia Pacific, it is still the largest consumer of soy food, followed by North America and Europe. And it accounts for 40% share of the global soy food market in 2017. And I do not see that being less in 2019 or 2020. And it's expected to grow at a rate of 6% up to 2025. So with that, I'd like to thank you for listening. And do feel free to, if you have any question, to share with me. And I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have. Thank you very much.